Alright, so for this lesson plan, we basically took this lesson excerpt from this Smoke and Mirrors unit, and our section specifically talks about the power of advertising. And so we basically took this lesson and fit it into our 3SB lesson template. And if we look right here, we'll see the template that my group put together. And so the goal of this was basically to identify like the portions of this lesson and knowing like where to put them within our lesson plan. And there are like some moments where we'd have to like kind of tweak it to properly fit or provide enough of the info that we need for the lesson plan to be coherent and good enough for a substitute to use. And so for our lesson plan in our central focus unit, we bolded the two words identify and evaluate because since this was about advertising, the goal was to get our students able to identify and evaluate the persuasive strategies that are used in tobacco industry. We also were trying to have them delve into like their own knowledge of advertisements that they know, like starting with if we go to like starting with like any advertisements that they know of like the what's like the latest item, and then what they know of like the advertisement strategies that were used for that item in order to get them to want to buy it, or like what makes it so like attractive, or why do people want it so badly. And so as we go through the lesson plan, we have some standards. For our standards, it was a little difficult because what was given in the lesson here wasn't really easily identified. Like it took us a bit to find like a standard that would fit like the skills that we're teaching in the lesson. But honestly, that was actually kind of like a good little practice for us for like future lesson plans when we're trying to figure out how we are fitting our lesson plans within the Common Core standards. And moving on to like the learning objectives and assessments, it was pretty straightforward. It was nice with the lesson like really laid out everything that we needed. It was just all about putting it in and like talking with our guide. She told us about making sure that we label like the assessments as formal formative or formal summative, or if they're informal. And so that was some good advice from her. As well as like language function, like always focusing on just trying to have like one word that we are focusing for our students. I mean, it's all about like not overwhelming them with too much. And the additional language demands was like a bit of work trying to figure out exactly what we needed here. But our guide teacher like helped us out, especially with like discourse, like letting us know exactly what is being asked of when it's asking us to list like the discourse or the syntax. And following with like the resources and materials is pretty straightforward. Like that was all laid out in the lesson, and the student prior knowledge, just basically like what the students are bringing to the table, and like us as a teacher, like how it's important for us to know what they already know, or what they've already practiced, or what skills they already have or are developing. And it's good to include that as well, like things that they're still working on, and then how this lesson plan can utilize that and then expand on it as well. And of course, having like a good hook. How are we drawing like our students' interest into the lesson, which is once again like the must-have accessory. What's like the big item, whether it's shoes or iPods or the yeah, like the latest phone, and just having like students being able to identify like those like advertising strategies and how they're hooking them into it. And likewise, we're going to be using that too to hook them into our lesson. So kind of works twofold here. And of course, always making sure that we identify like the specific, like when we first did the scaffolds, we just kind of like had it laid out here, like not really labeling like if it's going towards like the IEPs or the ELs. So our guide teacher helped us to let us know, like make sure you specify what differential instruction or scaffolds you're gearing it towards. And yeah, and again, just going through like the guided practice and independent practice, like what we're doing to like push the students towards their towards developing their own like skills so that they're able to do this at home, or if they have homework, if they're able to use these school or these skills when they leave school. And so getting them there is very important. And of course, like the closures, like something I'm still kind of like working on like we just have like a few sentences here based on like the lesson, but um, if we need to like expand on it, or of course like if it's transitioning to another lesson. But seeing as how this was like an isolated lesson, we're just focusing on like the one activity we had. We just had it like just labeled as students may need to finish the advertisement for homework and have the students present a summary of their analysis when they come back. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It was like a pretty straightforward assignment, but it was actually like really good too. Not only for us to try to transcribe it from the lesson into the lesson plan, but also having the guidance of the veteran 3SB to give us some tips and tools and techniques and how they go about it. So that was really helpful overall.